I'm a firm believer in a picture sells the showing.
Yeah, right? Like, I need to see this house.
If you get to the house, you photograph the house, but you don't, you obviously don't show the freeway that's right next door, or the crackhead that lives downstairs. Like, the picture's not going to sell the house, but it sells the showing, and the showing is where you get to sell the house.
Where you get to come in and be like, yeah.
Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. I am your host, Bryan Koci, here in San Diego with eXp Realty.
Hello, I'm Tom Conyers with Whissel Realty Media Team.
Yes, so today we have
in San Diego. Sorry.
Also in San Diego. We have a different episode. I am interviewing one of our photographers that we have on team. There's 3 of us total, and we're looking around at what people were saying, and we wanted to kind of help those of you that are having listings get the most out of your listing photographs. So like Kyle always enters it, I will try to do my best. The Whissel Way Podcast is where we come on, hopefully in a 30-minute or less episode, and kind of let you know what's working for our business, what we have learned. I don't know. It's a podcast about real estate and stuff.
You're killing it.
God, that's bad. All right, Kyle's going to see this, and he's going to make fun of me. Anyway, if you guys like this show, you guys want to share this, don't share the first couple minutes, obviously. You can find us on thewhisselway.com. From there, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, our podcast, join our referral network, ask a question directly, or join our Facebook group, thewhisselway.com. So, yeah.
Nailed it.
That was rough.
Nailed it in 1.
1.5.
As far as everyone else will know.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
So, Tom, you have been with the team for over 2 years, correct?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. And so from the beginning of that, you have been doing photographs almost from day one. Mm-hmm. I've been doing photos for the team for 6 years. And so we have developed a bit of a system, a bit of a structure to help our agents, help our listing coordinator, help our sellers really get the most out of the time it takes us to be there. So really to help minimize our time, which also minimizes the time that the seller is inconvenienced as we're there, as well as maximize the value of the product when it comes to listing photography. So what are some of your tips that you can give to the agents listening on something? Let's start with one and we'll go back and forth about what they can do to help get the best out of their listing photographer and therefore your listing photographs.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we've been trying to work on, especially over this last year, is we use Acuity, right, to book our shoots.
Yep, Acuity.com, and if you guys want to learn more about that, I did a previous widget on it.
Should come out tomorrow on YouTube.
Cool.
But one thing I think we've been trying to push for, because, right, you can select, I want drone, or, hey, I want this. And you can select all the different nuances you want, but having the agents actually use the notes section in there, right? We were running into issues, right? We're like, I shot the house and I shot it like normal, and then I would get back and they'd be like, you didn't shoot the stairs, or hey, you didn't highlight this thing, and I'm like, okay, totally something that you could shoot, right? But without me knowing it's something you want highlighted, I as a photographer, I wouldn't normally go and shoot the stairs. So like, I think over the year, it's a big push we've made, like, hey, like, especially for drone, right? Like, okay, I'm shooting drone, I'm getting permission to fly it, like, what do you want highlighted with drone? Yeah. So using the notes, having agents tell you.
So great. So what I hear you saying is having communications on both sides. And again, we're an in-house team where I think it's a little different than most. But if you are hiring someone that you've never worked with before, or you're hiring a big company that has different photographers come out, maybe ask them, what do you typically shoot? So that way they can say, I shoot the interior, the exterior, all the bedrooms, all the bathrooms. And you may notice, hey, they didn't say anything about a closet there, and I really want this closet photographed. And then also, on the agent side, being very specific of the homeowner really loves the grand entrance here, and they really want this highlighted. So that way the photographer knows the first time how to shoot what you have already discussed with the homeowner. Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah, nailed it.
Cool.
A good summary. What about you? What's something you find important?
So I think I'm going to break it back to the very beginning, and you kind of brought this up, is whether you're and I think this is actually kind of in line with it, but communicating with the seller based on what your photographer offers.
Right.
So we here at the Whissel team in San Diego offer photos, we offer drone, we offer video, we offer photo slideshow, we offer elevated photos, we offer 360 photos. We have a wide variety, but make sure you know what your photographer offers before you start talking to your seller about it, and you know what it's going to cost, so you can kind of prepare for that. For example, don't say, oh, we're going to be doing drone, and either your photographer doesn't offer it or it's in a no-fly zone. Like, we can't fly downtown San Diego. They won't let us. There's an airport there. So knowing what they offer and what they can offer, and kind of setting those expectations with your seller of, and anyone that's listening, you should probably do this. Never promise drone. Always say, hey, look, if it's allowed and they can get the approval, we can fly it. But kind of knowing the offerings first.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, Tom? Next one.
I guess kind of going off of that, setting the expectations of how to prep your home, right?
Oh, good. With the seller.
With the seller. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you go, okay, cool. So photos are booked. Your photographer is going to come. So good luck. And it's like, no, there needs to be like a checklist. There needs to be like, hey, like, your photographer's going to come, make sure your windows are open, lights are on.
We should make a checklist.
We should make a checklist.
This would be something easy that we could do.
Yeah, and share with all the lovely fans.
So yeah, we'll do that. But let's go through the things that we like. So you said windows are open.
Lights on.
So by what Tom means is windows are open. Like, everyone likes to do different things.
Blinds up.
Blinds up, and actually windows closed.
Right.
So we don't have the 2 panes of glass and the no panes of glass.
Or like a screen door.
Yep.
Doubled up. Yeah.
So
unless
blinds
it's
all the way
planter
up.
shutters or something like that, then
Plantation shutters. Yeah.
Yeah. Lights on. Yes.
Yep.
All the lights, please. Under cabinet, light, everything.
Some photographers don't like lights on, but I'd rather have all the lights on and turn off the ones I want rather than the other way around. So good.
Move cars out of driveway.
Yep.
Park them in the garage or down the street.
Yep.
Just get them moved.
Good.
Declutter is another one, right? You want to, if we can clean off those countertops, clean up the kids' toys or, the dog's beds, the dog bowls.
Just like you would do for an open house or a showing. Yep.
Hide the trash can, all that stuff.
Yep.
What's some other ones we have?
Fans off.
Fans off, yes.
I hate fans. Just turn off fans. A big pet peeve of mine is what is it called? The pool cleaner hose.
Like the pool hose? Yeah, remove that.
I hate that. I always Photoshop it out, but I can't Photoshop it out in video. That's a pet peeve of mine.
And it's a good thing like if they take it out earlier and it drips water on the cement, then it dries up by the time the photographer gets there or by the time they get out into the backyard to shoot.
Yep. Pets put away. It's a pain to Photoshop out a cat or a dog's chasing the drone. If you can put them in the garage or out on a walk or whatever, that's great.
Yep. If you can, clean windows and maybe mirrors.
Okay, that's a good one.
Especially for photographers that use like flash. I can tell you watermarks on mirrors. You see them, So
yep.
Yeah, definitely just give them a quick little scrub down with some Windex.
Cool. What I would say doesn't make that much of a difference, and that I've been standing there at watching a seller. Unless it's filthy, typically vacuuming doesn't matter.
Oh, like the vacuum lines?
Yeah. Well, and I've had sellers like, oh, let me vacuum real quick. I'm like, literally, it looks the same. So typically that doesn't matter. Again, unless it's filthy, mopping, doing a light dusting, none of those things typically make much. Now, if you have to do a deep clean, that's going to make a big difference. But saying, oh, let's push it a half an hour because the homeowner wants to vacuum, not typically going to make a difference.
Yeah. Where do you stand on spraying down, like the sidewalk?
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
So one thing, and again, if your seller kind of looks at it and goes, oh, I saw that they recommend on photography of houses and real estate in the U.S.
I think it comes up in like the search results of how to make my house photograph well.
Yeah, and they say, wet down the driveway or the sidewalks. I think it works in certain situations. Here in San Diego, it gets really hot during the summer. So I've literally had people wet it down, and by the time I'm halfway through photographing the exterior, you get dry patches and you get puddles, and it looks bad. So I'm not a fan. Like, in the right situations, it can look really cool. I think it's more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I would say the best time to use that, right? Because they do this in movies, right? They wet down the streets.
Yep.
And they wet down the streets to get that like nice reflection and glow from the street lamps. Or so if you're doing a twilight for a house at night, right, that has a lot of like exterior light or a lot of big windows where you can get that glow and that reflection. And yeah, and like a nice driveway or something where.
That's the only time that I think it's feasible. Otherwise, I say don't even mess with
Other
it.
time, yeah. It's
But again, if they ask me and I'm there, I'm like, don't worry about it because I don't want to have to Photoshop out a puddle. Mm-hmm. Like I'd rather have a dry driveway than a puddle.
Yeah. So I feel like that's pretty much on our checklist, right? Like another thing would be when you're saying that checklist, being like, hey, this is how you prep, and you're setting expectations. Set the expectations of how long the photographer is going to be there.
So I said set realistic expectations with sellers. So one, how long the photographer is going to be there, because there's nothing worse than us showing up as the photographer and they say, hey, I got to go in 20 minutes. Will you be done? And I'm like, I'm here for 4 hours. Like,
I got the full package.
Yeah. Or, again, in the same vein of setting realistic expectations, don't text your photographer that just did photos, full motion, twilight shoot, drone at 8:30 as they're driving home. Hey, is this going to be done today? Because it's not. It takes and again, this is something that you're going to want to know before you talk to the seller of when the photos are going to be turned around. We have our turnaround time is next day, next business day.
Yeah.
Some places do next day no matter what because they outsource to the Philippines or they do it whatever. But knowing when you can expect that, so that way you don't tell your seller, oh yeah, we'll go live on the market first thing tomorrow morning. First thing tomorrow morning is a Saturday morning. The photographer is out until 9:30 shooting your house. They don't expect to get the photos to you till Monday evening. So just know that, I think, is super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also like, because as a home seller, you're like, oh, the photographer's coming, he's just going to snap photos. They're not expecting you to sit there with a tripod set up, flash it, all these different flashes and things. Like, they're thinking, oh, just snap and leave. When, you set a room can take you 10, 15 minutes, depending on the amount of angles or how much flashes or, brackets you need to do.
Yep.
So,
and a simple rule of thumb. So I guess we probably should have started with there's different ways to take photographs, right?
There is.
You can, and we've all seen, I think, all of these ways, right? You can take it with your cell phone. Mm-hmm. And in the perfect situation, some of those photos look fine.
Look
good,
great. Especially
great.
with the new iPhones.
Right.
Some of the stuff I've seen out there, I'm like, that's phenomenal.
It has to be the right conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all seen, for every one phenomenal photo, anyone that's listening to here has seen 1,000 horrible cell phone photos, right? So there's that way. The next way is using a fancier camera, but that's it for your gear. Usually we see this as either an agent who bought a $500, $1,000 camera or their assistant, and they say, hey, take some pictures. Better quality photos typically, but still you're not going to get that light, airy, bright feeling or seeing through the windows, right? So that's kind of the next one. And actually, at this day and age, I bet you the cell phone takes better interior photos than just a entry-level DSLR.
I can see it.
The next level I would consider is kind of our HDR photography. Mm-hmm. Stands for high dynamic range. And what that does is it takes a bracket of image, a multitude of images, and then auto blends it in a program, either in the camera or on Photoshop, and just does some kind of auto blending. This is typically, you can get a faster turnaround time, but you sacrifice quality, and you'll really typically see oversaturated images. You'll see a haze around the windows, either through the windows themselves or kind of around the windows. This is why I say turn fans off, because you take multiple images and the blades are moving. You'll get some weird, it's called artifacting or ghosting. It's actually ghosting. Mm-hmm. And then the next layer is what we do. And it depending on how skilled your photographer is, this can be better or worse than HDR.
Yes.
But it's a manual blend of HDR. So what we're doing is we're taking multiple exposures, utilizing flash to fill in the corners, give you that nice, airy, bright look, that nice, crisp look out the windows, but then going in Photoshop and hand blending each image to take the pieces you like from them. So I think knowing what type of photography your photographer is going to be doing will help you understand why it's taking the time it does.
Yeah.
So if they do the full hand blending, you can expect the editing to take a little longer than if they're taking it with their photo or with their cell phone and sending you the photo.
Yeah, I've also seen photographers that do like the HDR method, shoot a whole house in 30 minutes, right? Because
Yep.
they're like, boom, do, done. Where us, I think we average hour and a half, depending on the size of home.
Yep. Size of the home and how open it is. It's surprisingly, the more open the home, the more open concept, the longer it takes to photograph.
Because more layers,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so it's just like the type of photography is going to dictate how long they're there. Also, we now help our listing managers
Good call.
with filling out our
Listing input form.
input forms. Yes. So now we take measurements of the rooms. We also do 360 tour.
Yeah, so what I want to kind of dive in on the listing input form a little bit more. What we used to do is we'd have our photographer and our listing coordinator go to every property. Well, San Diego is fairly large, so we have to drive anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour and a half to get to a listing sometimes. And so we were realizing having two people drive an hour or 45 minutes to a listing just isn't feasible. It's not a scalable way to grow.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
So what we did is we took the 14-page listing input form, and we broke it down by what needs to be done at the property, and we added that to the photographer's list. What needs to be done kind of that you can't see at the property, that's our listing coordinator's task, and that's going to include some of the stuff that they can tell by the photographs, or that they have to call HOA for, or they have to call the seller for. Right? Hey, is your solar leased? There's no way as a photographer we can figure that out if the seller's not home. So some of those things are still on our listing coordinator, but things like measuring the rooms,
smoke detectors,
carbon monoxide.
gas or electric.
Yep.
Type of roof.
Yep.
I've learned a lot since starting this.
So that's another thing that maybe if you're looking for a new photographer, that could be something you can ask if they can do. If people are fighting for your business, hey, is this something you offer? So so again, let's talk about the things we offer. Photographs, daytime and twilight.
Yep.
We offer drone, photo and video.
We haven't even touched video. We offer video.
Full motion video, or a photo slideshow, depending on how the house is and how we want to include it.
What else? Listing, like
the listing input form.
We do scans.
Yep, the Zillow 3D tours with floor plans. So we can also
do Matterport.
Yep. So these are all things to kind of think about. Some other things that I would recommend to get the best out of your photos. And I'm sorry, guys, if we're going a little all over the place. We don't have a very succinct timeline, but I think you guys can piece a lot of this together.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have more questions, you can hit Bryan or I up in the group chat, or
hit us up on the Facebook group,
like,
thewhisselway.com. We'll lead you there.
I'm looking to hire a photographer. This is what they offer. Is this kind of willing?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll grab a look at it.
Another thing that we do for our sellers that really helps us as the photographers is we have our in-house stager actually go and check out the home. Now, depending on your relationship with your staging company, which is decided on how often you use them and how often you pay it, some staging professionals will charge a consult fee, $100, $200, $500, whatever. Some will do it for free, and they'll say, hey, you book 9 stagings a week with us. We're going to do staging consults for free, because they get to kind of help sell their services. And sometimes what they do, like if the home is already lived in, they don't have to, they're not going to say, okay, we're going to put in our table here and our couches there, but they can give recommendations on, hey, declutter this, take out the books out of here, and really help the homeowner set their home up not only the best for photos, but also the best for in-person showings, so people can kind of envision themselves there. So having a staging consult is super important. And again, it's a relatively small fee, and it's another differentiation point.
Yeah, makes it look more lived in. I mean, speaking as a photographer, my favorite to shoot are vacant staged homes, right?
Yes.
vacant homes are nice, but like there's nothing to it, right? There's no contrast in a room. I mean, you get to see like, okay, this room looks nice, or okay, the kitchen looks cool, the cabinets I like, But when it's staged, it helps the person visualize like, oh yeah, this is kind of how my stuff would fit in this place.
Yep. Now, what's your thought on virtual staging?
I've seen some really good virtual staging.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I've seen some really nice virtual staging. I'm like, oh, that looks great. And I've also seen some where I'm like, oh, that looks really bad. Like
it's clip art.
Yeah, and the lighting just is like not matching with the lighting of the room. It just kind of, so if it's done well, then I don't see a problem with it. I think the issue comes in when like I see a lot of this with like new construction homes where it's like a really nice 3D rendering where you're like, wow, this looks great. Like this backyard's amazing. And then you swipe over and you see that like the backyard's not finished at all. And you're like, oh.
And it's funny, Kyle and I have gone back and forth on this about virtual staging. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. He doesn't like the idea of doing virtual staging and then you show up and you go, oh, none of the stuff is here. And it gives you kind of that immediate, I don't know if this isn't the right word, but this dissonance of, oh, I really liked it there, and now I'm a little disappointed because I can't see what it looks like in person.
Yeah.
I'm iffy on it. What I'm a big fan of real staging, especially if you can get the price right, if you find someone that you work with consistently and get the price right, because then not only does it look great in photos, but it also looks great in person when you do showings, when you do open houses. It's going to show well, just as well as we did it on photos. And virtual staging typically isn't very cheap.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that was kind of an out of order mishmash of
what we do for photography. But
like our brain dump on it.
3 years and like the funny thing too, right, is like when I started 3 years ago to where we are now, it's very different. I'm sure how Bryan started 6 years ago.
Don't find my early photos.
So it's one of those processes as everything, right? It continues to get improved on and tweaked.
Yeah.
But I hope at least with this like brain vomit is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
There's some nuggets in there of what you should look for in a good photographer. Because I'm a firm believer in a picture sells a house, right? Especially,
I'm a firm believer in a picture sells the showing.
Yeah, right? Like, you're like, I need to see this house.
If you get to the house, you photograph the house, but you obviously don't show the freeway that's right next door, or the crackhead that lives downstairs. Like, the picture's not going to sell the house, but it sells the showing, and the showing is where you get to sell the house.
Where you get to come in and be like, yeah. So hopefully these give you some things to look for in a good photographer. Maybe someone, you can reliably be like, oh, okay, this person offers these things at this value. That's probably someone I want to keep in my Rolodex. Rolodex?
Yep.
Are Rolodex is still a thing?
Nope. I know what it is, but no.
No.
But yeah, and hopefully this gives you some kind of feedback on how to prep your seller better, so that way they can be less inconvenienced, have better photos, and your photographer will be happier. That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing. Happy photographer, happy life.
Yes. So as we move into our next segment of the show, the Whissel Widget of the Week, this is something we like to share that saves us time, makes us money, or just fun. We like to... I don't know, that's it. I'm trying to add to it.
That's it.
Tom, do you have a widget?
I got a widget.
Okay. Tom, tell me about your widget.
You forget, I haven't done 100 of these, so I have all the gadgets.
That's true.
To talk about. So my widget is an item that helps not only organize your keys, but helps you never lose them.
Okay.
And it's by a company called KeySmart. It's this little fob-like device that you unscrew apart and put your keys in, and so your keys can fold out like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, so it looks like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
But instead of knives and toothpicks, it's your keys.
My keys. It comes with a bottle opener. It's not a very great bottle opener, but it holds my fob, which I like. But what I really like about it too is this front tile here is, Tile, if you're familiar with the company. It's basically you hook it up to an app, and you can use the app and ping your tile, and makes a noise or helps you find it on your phone if you're in the area, so you can never lose your keys.
Yeah, it's a clever idea. It's what is it? Compact.
Yeah.
You're not going to stab yourself with your keys as you put your hands in your pocket.
No.
How much does one of those run?
So I got this off the Kickstarter when
Okay.
it first was coming out, and I think I paid like $40.
Okay.
They just started a Key Smart 2 Kickstarter that might have just started wrapping up. That's kind of cool. That I'm kind of looking into as well. But so far, I've really liked it. It also has a little flashlight, and I charge this about, what would I say, like
3 weeks?
3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Cool.
Sometimes because I forget.
There's a fun little sound.
A little sound. Yeah,
Cool.
Key Smart.
My widget this week is a way to add some interesting dimension, interesting color to your media, whether it be photo or video. We're using this right now as we build out Kyle's YouTube studio in his office, but they are colored gels. And what you do, let me show you real quick. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can see this. If you're listening on the podcast, let me try and explain. But they're just different colors of clear kind of plastic that you put in front of a light. And what it'll do, so I have orange, I have blue, I have pink and green and yellow and red and purple. But what you do is you put this in front of the light, and then it will change the color of the light. I love using these not in property photographs. That would be, we could probably use the orange on the inside. But I like using these for video, for lighting the background, for not typically lighting people, but like a kicker light, a hair light, just to add some interesting dimension, some cool
add
color.
some dimension. They're also used for, say, you're shooting somewhere that's very blue, then you can use the CTO to help.
The opposite.
Opposite.
If it's very orange in the background, you would use the orange one, the CTO, to make sure that you are the same color as the background. Yes. So it has I was just talking to Barry with Ylopo about that today. So anyways, that's my widget. I think there's 10 sheets. I got them for like $11, $12 on Amazon. And there. So thank you guys so much for watching the show, thewhisselway.com. You can ask your question. You can join our Facebook. You can join our YouTube. You can join our referral network. So when people say, hey, I'm moving out of San Diego and I need an agent, we got you.
Yep.
And you can subscribe to the podcast.
Yep. Also hit us up there. Where should I hit you up for a checklist for photography?
I don't have it yet.
Okay.
We'll put it in the link on the YouTube video, and we'll put it up on the Whissel Way or on our Facebook group as well.
I like this. Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.